Welcome back, Mando.
Oh, ho, ho, ho. Greetings, Bucketheads. Mavar Tagar. Welcome to our 299th Old Bones and Old Clones episode of Mandovision. I'm your host, Nargai Tom, and thank you so much for checking out this small independent Star Wars podcast. So glad you're with us. I hope you're following us on the socials. We're at Mando_Vision on Twitter, Instagram, Mandovision at Blue Sky. Email the show, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. And make sure you're liking, subscribing, and following, and sharing the show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. Alright, Bucketheads, we're back for another episode of our Star Wars Rebels rewatch. And I'm excited for this one, friends. Last week, we had a good one, and this one picks up right where it left off. Part 2 of our little mini arc, little mini reunion with the clones from the Clone Wars. Hanging out with Captain Rex, Wolf, and Gregor. I'll do better this time, my friends, to not just say Gregor all the time when I mean to say Wolf. We'll do better this time, my friends. That's what this podcast is always about. Little improvements every single week as we plow to our 300th episode next week. Can you believe it? I can't. It's quite a journey, my friends. As I said, though, we're here to, have the good stuff. And that's what this rewatch of Rebels has really been for me thus far. I've really had a blast rewatching this show. I haven't watched it since its original run, which was almost 10 years ago now. But this has been a real hoot. And I'm enjoying these episodes far more than I probably even did at the time. I don't know. And I think it's because of what I said a little bit last week, where we have so much more information now from shows like The Bad Batch and some of the comics and the novels that have come out that have kind of like covered this time period a little bit. And it's been really great. So watching them now with a little bit more information, it helps you kind of put things in a little bit of a different context, a little bit of a different light. You can look at things from a certain point of view now, and what a delight that is. But let's go ahead and get into this episode. So we're going to go ahead and knock out the particulars of it. Are you ready? That's a weird way to present that, my friends. I apologize. This is Star Wars Rebels, Season 2, Episode 4, Relics of the Old Republic. Original air date, October 21st, 2015. This episode is written by Stephen... Oh my gosh, I can't even read my handwriting. Stephen Melching, written by Bosco NG. Our primary cast this week, friends. Taylor Gray is Ezra Bridger. Vanessa Marshall is Harrison Dula. Freddie Prinze Jr. is Kanan Jarrus. Tiara Sakar is Sabine Wren. Steve Blum is Zeb Orielos. Dave Filoni is Chopper. D. Bradley Baker is Admiral Constantine and the Clone Troopers. David Oyelowo is Agent Kallus. Ashley Eckstein as Ahsoka Tano. And Philip Anthony Rodriguez enters the stage as the fifth brother. That's right, friends. We end this one with a brand new Inquisitor arriving to the party. And, it's fun to watch this first appearance of Fifth Brother, too. A character they brought into the real lives in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And this is his debut. So let's get our plot. Ezra and the crew begin to develop friendships with Captain Rex and his colleagues, prompting them to work together against an attack by Agent Kallus. So we didn't talk too much about it in last week's episode, but when Wolf betrays the team, he's forgiven pretty quickly. Obviously, it was coming out of a place of fear, trying to protect his brothers, and not wanting to get involved. But I think it's for the best that it doesn't become too much of a plot point. Something that really drives our heroes into the ground initially, or it's more of an overt betrayal, and all of a sudden Wolf is with the Empire and laughing maniacally as he turns the knife and that he's just stuck in Rex's belly. No, nothing like that. A little bit, like I said, I think his betrayal is understandable, even though I don't think they were super stoked on it. But they've moved on, and everyone is kind of forgiven Wolf for acting out of fear, and we all just move forward. And that's what this podcast is all about. Moving forward, friends, moving forward. So let's go ahead and get into the episode. Again, we pick up right where we left off. And then you know what that means. It's time. Strap on your buckets. Let's go.
Get out of here. We'll hold them off. You're going to have to relocate the covert. This is the way. This is the way.
Again, picking up where we left off last week. The Phantom. Disabled. The Ghost. In orbit. Still undergoing repairs. So basically, disabled. Hera's in orbit with Chopper trying to get those hyperdrive repairs on the Ghost. Meanwhile, the probe did blast the Phantom and it has been disabled, so they can't just leave the surface of Selos just yet. They call out, and hey, there's no Empire in sight just yet. Oops, that's when they arrive. Right in time for the credits to hit. And that requires Hera to power down the Ghost, power down Chopper so that she can avoid being detected in scans. And on the surface, on Selos, you also have the added drama of the impending sandstorm. A sandstorm is a brewing on Selos. The Empire on one side, the sandstorm on the other. What could possibly go wrong? Or could that sandstorm possibly factor into the events that are about to unfold? Well, let me tell you what. They sure do. But in the meantime, the Empire, now that they're in orbit, Agent Callus reaches out, wants to make contact with Wolf for initiating the snitching. We'll just call it snitching about the Jedi. And it leads to a very fun back and forth between Callus and Captain Rex that I love so much that I just have to play it for you. So, without further ado, Callus and Captain Rex.
This image was taken by one of our probe droids. It clearly shows you harboring known rebels. Now surrender them or be destroyed.
If it's a fight you want, I hope you brought a better class of soldier than those stormtroopers.
They serve the Empire well, and I have a great many of them.
You're gonna need all of them.
It's a great moment that sets the tone for the rest of the episode, and I love that we just keep making fun of stormtroopers. That's good stuff. It's like, even in universe, they're very aware that the stormtroopers, not quite the same fighting force that the clones were. I love it. So, eventually this means, hey, it's time to dispatch some TIEs down to the planet. Gregor takes out one of the TIEs. Great shot by him. And then back on the Star Destroyer, they're like, hey, Constantine's like, hey, what if we just did like some orbital bombardment? What do you think of that? And Callus, like, no, this is kind of personal to him all of a sudden. He's like, ground assault. So, we're going to get our first look at some early on AT-ATs, or as I like to call them, the AT-ATs. And it's always exciting to see an AT-AT because then you get the Empire Strikes Back references going. You get sort of like in that lane, in that milieu. And that leads to getting the musical overtures that remind us of the Empire Strikes Back as well. So some really fun elements from that film creep into this episode of the show. But again, instead of a sparse snow planet like Empire Strikes Back, we have a sparse desert world like Selos, where the conflict will take place, and that's also exciting. We get an opportunity for Ezra and Rex to have another chat about the Clone Wars, another moment for Kanan to overhear. And as we had said last week, it's like these little conversations that Kanan bears witness to that are beginning to slowly change his mind about who Rex and these clones actually are. They're not like the mind-controlled murderers of his Jedi Masters, that they are, their own unique individuals who went against their programming, who turned against their brothers, basically, by defying the chip and removing it and having to escape from the Empire. It's very, very cool stuff. So again, this is all kind of chipping away at that wall that Kanan's built around himself when it comes to how he views the clones. All right, so again, as I said, the early AT-ATs are on the surface, and Rex is like, you know what? We are completely outmatched. They have one weakness, and it's in the neck. And guess what? We're going head on with them, so we're not getting a real good shot at that. So it's time to get out of here. Let's try to turn the advantage in our favor by heading into the sandstorm. And of course, Callus is not just going to let them run away. No. They will pursue. They will pursue into a sandstorm where the sensors are no good. Everything's a little bit more even, despite the technological superiority that the Empire would seem to have in this instance. Meanwhile, in orbit, Hera turns Chopper back on, and they're trying to complete their repairs. They're trying to be low key still. She tells Chopper to keep it on low power, man. But we got to get this going because we're going to have to run down to the planet, get our peeps, and then bounce. So it's fun, right? But you know things are going to happen. We cut back to the surface, and this is sort of the beginning of Kanan coming around, right? He's got an idea, and Rex says something along the lines of like, "Hey, I always trust my general." So now Kanan is sort of thrust into this role that he's never had before, where he's commanding clone troopers. So it's something completely unfamiliar to him, but he's using the Force. He's reading the sandstorm, the way it flows, the way it ebbs, and things around it. It's almost like a sort of form of battle meditation to an extent, and he's able to direct the tank via Wolf's driving of it into a position where it's now in the middle, surrounded by the AT-ATs. All right, because Callus recognizes that something's going on, and he orders a pincher maneuver, so they begin to circle. And that puts the ATTE, the tank, driven by Wolf and the clones and our heroes, the Spectres, in a position where they now have the opportunity to take a shot. And just as Kanan used the Force to maneuver them into this position, it's time for Ezra to step up and use the Force to take the shot. And Rex hands him his helmet. They go out into the sandstorm, him and Sabine. Sabine's, I think, acting as like a bit of a spotter in this scenario. But you're in the middle of a sandstorm, so I don't know how much you're seeing. So again, two people with helmets out there, and it's time to shoot at the neck. And then Ezra's like, I can't see anything. I can't use the scope. And Kane's like, hey, buddy, you're going to have to use the Force. Get with the program. And then, oddly enough, Ezra takes off the helmet in the middle of a sandstorm. So Ezra clearly separated himself from Anakin Skywalker as someone who's not afraid of sand. He'll let it get all up in his business. Hit him in the eyes, hit him in the face, get in his hair. I would imagine it hurts. I think that helmet was a protective measure, personally. So him taking it off seems like an odd choice to me. I would imagine that didn't feel so good. A bit like sandpaper, just rub it on the face. But what are you going to do? This is what these Force people do. They take off helmets. They turn off targeting computers. This is what you do when you're using the Force. You don't want anything to encumber you. So, again, an odd choice. But guess what's going to happen? He's going to take the shot. He's going to take the shot. And it works. The AT-AT smoldering ruins on the surface of Selos. Meanwhile, back in orbit, Admiral Constantine is ordered to rendezvous with Darth Vader's shuttle. And it's like, wait, but we're in the middle of this offensive here. I can't just bounce. But he's like, it's Lord Vader, sir. You going to roll the dice on that scenario? So Constantine, I think very wisely, departs. And this gives Hera and Chopper the chance to power up, complete their repairs without the Empire just watching them. And yeah, it's no good. It's no good. So, back on Selos, though, with downed AT-AT, there's now the hole, right? There's an opening for the ATTE, the tank, to make their escape from the sandstorm and to separate themselves from the AT-ATs. And that's what they do. It's Wolf pilot driving, makes a beeline for that gap. The AT-ATs are in hot pursuit, but once they get clear of the sandstorm, it's time for the Spectres to go. Repairs to the Phantom have been made, and it's time to bounce. Ezra wants the clones to come with them. Rex, you got to come with us. We need you up there. You gave us the coordinates for all these bases, and that's super duper, but we want you in the fight. Rex is like, no, we got to stay back here. We're going to provide cover fire so you all can make your escape. It's noble. It's what the clones do. And Rex says as much. Hey, this is what we were born to do. We were born to fight. But Ezra's uncomfortable with it because he knows it means like they're basically going to die. Callus is going to come out of the sandstorm, open fire with the 2 remaining AT-ATs that he has, and kill these guys. So as they fly away, Kanan sort of realizes that... I think he's known for a while that he realizes that these are good men. They are good people. And it's while the mission is to get this information back to the rebellion so they can construct a base somewhere to engage in hit and runs against the Empire, he realizes that saving these people's lives is actually more important than all that. These men deserve to live. And so they go back into the conflict. And it's a sweet maneuver as they hit the AT-AT from the broadside with the Phantom, fly through his legs, and then go up into a 360. And out of the back, we see Ezra, Kanan engage their lightsabers. Zeb's coming down with them. They land on the head of one of the AT-ATs, and they cut their way into the cockpit, where Zeb smashes some buckets together against the console, no less. It seems like a bad idea for him to take over. But they take control of the AT-AT, open fire on Callus's, and give Rex the time he needs to make the shot to disable that AT-AT and send it crashing to the surface of Selos, which is what happens. And then Callus and them have to escape on a speeder bike. Now, I need to back up for a second here, too, because as the Phantom takes off, Callus has a choice to make. He could open fire and try to eliminate the Phantom himself, but he decides to stay and deal with Rex and the clones. He wants to put those clones in their place. But he also believes that Constantine is still in orbit and will provide air support to make sure that the rebels don't escape. Little does he know that Constantine has bounced and gone to a rendezvous as ordered by Darth Vader. So choices were made, and consequences will be dealt with as it all sort of begins to fall out, right? So there's no air support, so the rebels are able to circle back around and get back into this fight and win the day for the clones and for the rebels. And it is exciting, and it is glorious because we have the battle versus the AT-ATs. Rex destroying Callus's because we got very personal. I love the speeder bike. Callus piloting a speeder bike with one of the drivers on the back and the other AT-AT driver running for his life in hot pursuit of said speeder bike. It's pretty funny. But the day is won, and I love the shot of the clones saluting Kanan as it's like the Jedi general that he's grown into. It's wonderful. It's delightful. It's awesome. It rouses the heart. Meanwhile, we go to Constantine's rendezvous with Vader's shuttle, but coming off the shuttle, not the Dark Lord of the Sith. No, sir. It is as Palpatine wanted. Another Inquisitor has been dispatched, and it is our first introduction to Fifth Brother, his very unique helmet, and a big, bulking, brooding man compared to the Grand Inquisitor who we spent so much time with in Season 1. So Fifth Brother's on the case, and he's going to make sure that this Jedi issue comes to an end very, very soon. Meanwhile, we connect back with the Rebel fleet, and we get the reunion we've all wanted. Ahsoka and Rex reunited, and it feels so good. Great to see these two characters back together again. An absolute delight. And it hits on all the spots you want it to. And Rex is back in the fight. He's here. He's with Ahsoka. They're going to do things together. And these clones, we didn't talk about it last week, but it's we need to remind everybody that in like actual years since their birthing, the clones are only like 28, but they have the accelerated aging. And that's why they look the way they look. That's why they look like they're 50, 60-year-old men, because of the accelerated aging. And that's also another reason why the Empire needed to phase them out, because they were going to be senior citizens soon, and they got to get that AARP going on. And the Empire's got, there's a lot of those guys. That's a lot of government money for the Empire to have to deal with. And if you just, get the clones out of the way, get them out of the system, they don't have to pay that out. No pensions for the clone soldiers, Get that out of here. No, sir. All right. But that's the episode, and it's great, and it's awesome, and it hits a home run, in my opinion. 8.5 buckets. What a delight. What an absolute delight this one was. Loved just about every second of it. It's a very action-oriented episode, so it flies by really, really quickly. Good stuff. I want to remind you guys, hit us up on those socials at Mando_Vision, Twitter, Instagram, at MandoVision, and Blue Sky. You can email the show, MandoVisionTom@gmail.com. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share this show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. If you are so inclined, you can give us those sweet 5-star reviews. They help the show out tremendously, and I appreciate everyone who takes the time to do so. You are the best. So go out there, my friends. Be amazing Star Wars fans. Get together with each other. Have fun conversations. Listen to all the crazy ideas and speculation, and embrace the madness. Just lean into it. It's a fun time to be a Star Wars fan. And it's a fun time to engage with Star Wars fans who have a different point of view than you. So make sure these people feel kind and supported, and you're there for them. All right? Let's get out of here. We'll be back next week for another amazing episode of Star Wars Rebels Rewatch. But remember, in the meantime, this podcast, it can only end one way. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
Just did the castle run in 12 parsecs. Not if you round down, buddy. Yeah.